Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series, Rescue the Rockies. And after a shockingly good second season in Colorado with a 86-76 record and a wild card appearance, the 2026 to 2027 offseason is finally getting underway today. Appreciate all of the feedback from our last episode on some of the big decisions that we will have ahead of us. We'll start talking about some of the options and what we've decided to do now. We have already exercised the option for Gregory Soto. He did a good job for us as a reliever this past year, 3-5 record, 3.34 ERA. And he will be back with us as our top left-hander, hopefully, out of the pen next year. Hunter Harvey, also a easy decision, but we're going to go in the other direction on him. Harvey set to make $4 million next year. He was awful for us with a 6.43 earned run average in 21 innings last year. And he's also still out for another couple of months recovering from ulnar nerve entrapment. Fragile as far as his injury proneness, and he's going to be 32 years old in about a month. I think we can put this money to better use than Mr. Harvey. So we are going to pay him an extra $400,000, buy him out, so $5.4 million this year for 6.43 ERA and about 20 innings. Not a particularly good investment for us in Colorado. And while the Soto and Harvey decisions were different, they were relatively easy decisions for me to make. Sandy Alcantara is a little trickier. We've got a team option on him for $21 million next year, which is certainly expensive. He was 11-7 with a 4.07 ERA for us this year. Started 27 games, did have some injury issues, but he's normal in terms of his injury proneness. And if we factor in that he played about 80% of a season, his WAR likely would have been over 3 if he had continued to pitch the way he did over the 157 innings that he did play for us. Like that he's a ground ball pitcher, and he was good for us this past year. That said, I tend to think $20 million is a bit expensive for a guy who we think is maybe a 3.5 WAR pitcher at this point. So I was inclined to move on from him, but I also, before making that decision, wanted to spend some time taking a look at the potential upcoming free agents and who might be out there as starting pitchers. And the top end of the market, Sonny Gray and Chris Sale, are more expensive than Alcantara will be. Also older. And in the case of Sale, selfish in terms of his personality and wrecked physically. Can see a lot of other guys dealing with current injury issues, including Alex Cobb and Clayton Kershaw, who were both with us this year. And then a lot of guys who are also older. I am a bit intrigued, though, by Jesus Luzardo. 29 years old, normal injury proneness, above average stuff, average movement, average control. Nice 4-pitch arsenal with a really good fastball and slider. Solid stamina, solid at holding on runners, throws in the high 90s. Not necessarily an ideal pitcher for Colorado, with the balance between ground balls and fly balls. Only average movement on his pitches, average ability to keep the ball in the park. He was a combined 10-13 between Philadelphia and Seattle this past season, with an ERA in the mid-threes between those two teams, 2.7 WAR. I think I prefer Luzardo over Alcantara at this point. My concern is the $17.6 million demand for Luzardo doesn't make sense to me if he actually hits free agency. I think that number is going to be higher. So I do worry we move on from Alcantara in a $21 million team option, thinking that we can get Luzardo for similar or maybe even a little less. And then Luzardo ends up looking for 28, 30 million when he does hit free agency. So a little concerned that Luzardo's price is going to be higher than it indicates here. Another guy who we could bring in, although the price tag to me at only 1.6 million less than Luzardo is less attractive, would be Chris Bubic. Doesn't have quite the same kind of stuff, doesn't have the same kind of velocity. Was about a win above replacement level for Boston this year, but a very good season in Kansas City the year before that. Another left-hander who could help us. Bubic a little potentially more helpful in terms of his popularity. And there's a few other guys that could be helpful in that $10 to $15 million range. But with the exception of Luzardo, I tend to think most of them would probably be a little bit of a downgrade from Alcantara. I obviously, since I'm not going to just sit here and not move the game forward, need to make a decision. But will be interesting to hear whether or not you view this as the right decision in the context of some of the players who might become free agents as starters in the next few weeks. And ultimately where I end up is Alcantara is the best starting pitcher on our staff, but I don't think he's a $21 million pitcher, and for similar money I'd prefer the younger Luzardo, even though Alcantara's ground ball tendencies seem to have played pretty well with our strong defense up the middle behind him in Colorado this year. So if we are not going to exercise that option, we'll go back to something I did in the last episode. And since it's been a couple days in real time and a couple times closing down the game since then, we'll shop him again to see the options. But I think as long as nothing similar or nothing has really changed here, and it hasn't, we're going to take a flyer on Chandler Simpson. Just such a unique player. As good base running as you are ever going to see. Like the high work ethic and baseball intelligence. Good range and error ratings in the outfield, although the arm is a little below average. And an outstanding contact hitter. The issue is the home run power is non-existent and the gap power isn't much better. So he doesn't really take too much advantage of that speed. If we look at what he's done in the majors at this point, 499 at-bats and only 21 extra base hits despite that blazing speed, because he's just not driving the ball into the gaps all that frequently. That said, the speed is interesting, the personality is helpful, the contact is interesting, the defense is interesting, and we have definitely struggled in the outfield over the really 2 years that we've had this team. To be fair, Simpson's only a 67 career WRC plus player, but he was 87 this past year. And if he can perform at close to that level while continuing to be outstanding on the base paths, I think he could be an interesting player for us. Looking at his ratings, he's definitely got splits that certainly favor right-handed pitching, or him facing off against right-handed pitching. So my thought would be he'd ultimately be a guy who starts only against right-handed pitching, likely as a very good defensive left fielder for us. And then he's on the bench against left-handed pitching as a potential pinch hitter, pinch runner, late-inning defensive replacement. I don't know that it's going to work out. I can't say I'm in love with Simpson, but he's certainly a very interesting tool set to potentially play with. And if we're just going to decline the option on Alcantara, might as well get something for him. And the other big decision that many members of the worldwide scouting department have opined on for us is what to do with Ryan Feltner, one of several arbitration eligible players on our team. Right now it's looking like there's a lot of uncertainty. We've made offers to Austin Wells, center fielder Brenton Doyle, and DH/catcher Hunter Goodman to come back. Still deciding what to do with Miguel Vargas, Eggy Rosario, Vinny Pasquantino, Elvis Peguero, Sam Gaviglio, and Feltner. And Feltner is the guy who's due to make the most money, so he's the most interesting decision for me. The 30-year-old has been very effective for us, winning 22 games over the past couple seasons, going out and taking the mound every fifth day for us, pitching over 180 innings each year, and combining for a 5.4 WAR over those 2 seasons. So from that perspective, giving him a raise from $4.4 million to $7.4 million doesn't seem all that bad. But when we look at his skill set, below average stuff, below average movement, below average at keeping the ball in the park, average control, decent stamina, average at holding on runners, throws in the mid-90s, neutral ground ball, fly ball tendencies. Doesn't really seem like someone who should be as successful for us as he has been in Colorado, and honestly, not a profile of someone who's, in my mind, a 2.7 WAR pitcher over these past couple of years. But he has ultimately been effective for us, and with Alcantara going away and a relatively meager group of potential free agent starters this year, combined with the fact, as we saw last episode, that no one's really willing to trade anything for him, clearly we're not going to trade him away. The question is whether we make a $0 offer to him and let him hit free agency, or we just decide to bring him back for one more year next season and continue going year to year with him. Some have also suggested a contract extension. If we look at a 6-year deal, he's looking for an average of over $10 million a year. Given that he's already over 30 and I'm not in love with him, I think there's an argument to be made that you make him a $0 arbitration offer and let him hit free agency, or just waive and DFA him today and then see what he's looking for on the other end. I think it's conceivable that that number could be a little less than the 7.4 he's asking for now, but I also think we might make him angry and he may be somewhat reticent to re-sign with us. So given that we're going to open up a fair amount of money by moving on from Alcantara, we're going to make an offer to bring Feltner back and see if he can continue to, at least in our view, defy the odds and be an above-average major league pitcher in Colorado for another season. And in addition to the offers that we've made to the arbitration-eligible players, Feltner, you can see on the list now, we've offered him just under $7 million a year, which he should sign for. Goodman, who we talked about, we've made minor league extension offers to several guys in our organization. But we've also made an extension offer to Drew Romo, which is something several of the other viewers have also talked about. And he was looking for 8 years, around $80 million when we just checked in with him. I believe when we looked at him during the season a few months ago, he was looking at over $100 million for an 8-year deal. So it seems like his demand has come down a little bit, and we've talked a lot and gotten a lot of feedback from viewers as to his outstanding defense and how that likely is having some positive influence on how surprisingly good our pitching has been and how surprisingly good our team was ultimately. So the fact to be able to lock up one of the premier defensive catchers in baseball for the medium term and the prime of his career is attractive to me. I mean, he's a guy at this point who still has another year, possibly 2, of making the major league minimum ahead of him. But I'd rather get him locked up now. So in addition to the arbitration offers we've talked about, we've also made an offer to Drew Romo to try to lock him up for the foreseeable future in Colorado. Now that still leaves us with several important players from the team this past year that we've got to make decisions on as we keep moving forward from day to day in these next few days of the offseason. We're going to shop those guys just to see if there's any value whatsoever. I guess I've got another couple shop opportunities left here now, so we'll check out a couple of them live with you and see whether there's anything interesting or not. Vinny Pasquantino. There's definitely demand for him. Doesn't necessarily look like any impact players, and a fair amount of guys in their 30s who aren't really what we want to be building around. Petey Halpin has a decent ceiling. Another left-handed hitting outfielder. Still has 2 option years left. Another really good defender. Decent speed. Looks like he's borderline able to handle right-handers at the major league level at this point. Get some veteran relievers. There's at least lots of options for Vinny. Alec Burleson, but I think I want to continue to try to upgrade our defense. Don't really know that he's the answer. We've already got a lefty outfielder who's mediocre defensively that we're bringing back in Austin Wells, but I think he's got a little more pop in the bat, and he can also play catcher for us, so I think I prefer Wells. I'll spend some time looking at the options, like I said, for some of these guys. In addition to Vinny, another guy that will shop right now before I go and do some work offline as we're moving through the next couple of days would be Miguel Vargas, who's been pretty disappointing for us the last season and a half since we picked him up, and he's also a guy who's out of options. And it looks like, similar to Vinny, there's a long list of potential options for him, including the aforementioned Petey Halpin and some other familiar names as we kind of go through the list. Walker Buehler, if we wanted a starting pitcher. Might try to avoid those fly ball tendencies. So there's options out there for both of these guys. Doesn't seem like it's going to be anyone who's going to be a massive difference maker for us, but we can probably get something that's at least different, if not more useful, if we decide to trade some of these guys away. And before we start moving forward, we'll talk about what we're doing in the development lab. Charlie Condon going to work on bat speed. Zane Petty, our second rounder from this past year, working on control. Jack Bauer, who was our second rounder from the year before, working on his control as well. Wellington Herrera, secondary pitch improvement. Think he could be a lefty who could help us in the rotation in the not too distant future. First round pick from last year, Jamie Arnold, working on his movement after he had a successful control program last offseason. Dial Amador, working on his contact. Braden Nett working on his control. And then Drew Romo, who we hope will be locked up for us for the next 8 seasons, going to work on his plate discipline. Looks like the one area of his bat where our scout thinks there's a little bit of untapped potential. And certainly if he can draw some more walks for us, that'll increase his value as an offensive player. And for those of you wondering what we leaving 2 spots empty, that's intentional. We're trying to give the AI and the other teams 10 slots in the development lab, while we only use 8 for ourselves in this year's playthrough. And with that, we're going to start moving forward through the awards season and then ultimately to the arbitration hearings and the beginning of free agency. As I noted, we've still got a lot of decisions to make on arbitration eligible players, so I'm going to be shopping all of those guys, and if there's something interesting to do, I'll let you know. And we've got a trade for one of the questionable guys as to whether we were going to make an offer to him in arbitration worked up. Eggy Rosario was not good for us this year after he was decent, at least with the bat, a year earlier. Like his defensive versatility, but he's going to be set to be making $2 million next year. Not that we can't afford him, but if we get rid of him and Angel Chivili, who was our lone all-star a season ago, we can get Drew Sommers and a little bit of cash from the Giants. We could use another lefty arm in the bullpen, and Sommers is a ground ball pitcher who seems to have a decent chance at keeping the ball in the park. He's a guy who was waived by the Tigers after he was brutal for them in a very small sample size in 2025. And then this past year he was pretty good for the Giants in the relatively small sample size of 18 innings pitched. But he is deadly against left-handed batters. As a cheap lefty specialist, I can at least see a role for him on this team, and might as well get a little bit for Rosario and Chivili. We can kind of let go of as a generic arm in a generic right-handed arm in the bullpen, because we've decided we're going to bring Elvis Peguero back. So we've made an offer to him, who's another pretty generic right-handed arm in the bullpen. And we've got plenty of guys with options in AAA who can kind of fill a role as a 4th or 5th righty out of the bullpen for us. Not the most exciting trade in the world, but feel like we're, with only Soto as a lefty in the bullpen, bringing Sommers on board at least gives us 2 guys who we think are going to be competent major league left-handed pitchers in the bullpen. So we're going to go ahead and complete this trade and see what else we can come up with. And I think with that move, the potential roster's starting to shape up. We're not making an offer to Gaviglio. We are going to bring back Vinny and Vargas for another season. Vinny still put up a 117 WRC plus for us. He's got a solid major league bat against right-handed pitching. Don't love the defense and don't love that we don't really play him at DH because we've already got Goodman on the team. But we've only got one other hopefully big left-handed bat in the lineup with Mr. Wells, and hopefully Pasquantino at least gives us a second left-handed bat that can at least threaten hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Vargas, just not impressed with the trade value. Still think he should be good against left-handed pitching, and when we look at his stats last year, he was an above-average offensive player against left-handed pitching by his OPS plus or his WRC plus. So he's going to come back as a platoon corner outfielder for us next year, and hopefully with guys like Simpson on board, we can get him out of the lineup more frequently when we need a defensive substitution in the late inning of games. So we've still got some even lesser players with major league contracts on the 40-man roster that will likely be looking to deal or more likely just waive and DFA to not guarantee them major league contracts. If we find anything interesting to do with those guys in the trade market, I'll let you know, but I'm not all that optimistic there's going to be anything interesting out there. And we've been trying to shop a lot of these guys that we don't really see a need to keep on the 40-man roster. Not surprisingly, there's little to no demand for any of them, so we've waived and DFA'd the likes of Zach Agnos, Bradley Blaylock, and Josan Mendez. Don't want to be guaranteeing them, even if it's only $740,000 a major league contract next year, so we'll free up a few more spots on the 40-man, and hopefully we'll be able to fill some of those in through free agency trades in the Rule 5 as this offseason move forward. And we've moved forward a couple of days. Hunter Goodman signed. The fans excited by that. Feltner will be back. Wells will be back. Romo signed the extension, so the fans happy to have him back for the medium to long term. So still waiting to hear from the likes of Peguero, Pasquantino, Vargas, and Doyle as far as their arbitration offers, but we are making slow but steady progress trying to get these players figured out, and award season is just a few days away. Think that we've got a good chance at getting some gold gloves up the middle, whether it's Romo at catcher, Tovar at short, or Doyle in center field. Certainly would think that some of our players should be rewarded when we get into award season with gold gloves. And we've got Pasquantino, Peguero, and Vargas signed. Also hired Mark Taylor for the final open spot in our minor leagues. Legendary at teaching hitting, outstanding with development and mechanics, and expect him to have average relationships, but still think that he could be a pretty good asset for us in high A ball with Spokane. Feeling even better that we didn't exercise Hunter Harvey's option, as it's now going to take him at least 3 months till he is ready to recover from his injury. So with the moves that we've made, signing some arbitration-eligible players, trading some away, obviously moving on from Alcantara most notably, starting to potentially free up a little bit of money to play with this upcoming offseason. Unfortunately, even with those signings that we made, although they claim to be very positive in some cases for fan interest, the actual impact on our fan interest metric has unfortunately been relatively minimal. I think we were at 61 when we started the offseason, if I remember correctly. And Brenton Doyle will be back for at least another year as well, so that is positive. And we got another point in fan interest, so making slow but steady progress on that metric, but there certainly is an opportunity that if Clayton Kershaw signs with someone despite that torn rotator cuff, we'll probably take a bit of a hit there. So hopefully there will be some free agents on the market that we're able to sign who will at least offset the popularity of some of these guys that we could be losing, and hopefully more than offset it. And we've made it to the start of award season. Only one gold glove for us, and it's the same one as last season. Same one now 4 seasons in a row in center field. Brenton Doyle has won the gold glove in center field. Thought we had a chance at shortstop and catcher, but Jose Trevino wins it for the Reds, and Francisco Lindor wins it for the Mets at short. And perhaps not surprisingly, other than the perennial gold glove winner, Brenton Doyle, no significant awards for the Rockies this offseason. In the American League, a tie in terms of first place votes for the Cy Young Award, 13 apiece for Shane McClanahan and Mr. Skubal. But McClanahan ends up winning the American League Cy Young Award. 12-7 record with a 3.02 ERA and 246 strikeouts for the Rays. Ground ball pitcher who throws in the high 90s, decent at keeping the ball in the park. Lefty would be a guy that we would love to have. Guessing the trade options for him are probably going to mean no one in the organization would get him. Yeah, no surprise there. Over in the National League, the youngster Paul Skeens is your Cy Young Award winner. First Cy Young Award of his career, now a 3-time All-Star at the age of 24. Only a 6-10 record for the Buccos, but he led the National League with 230 strikeouts, 11.1 strikeouts per 9 inning, and a 58.1 quality start percentage on the way to his first Cy Young Award. Don't know if I had Cal Raleigh as the unanimous American League Most Valuable Player for 2026, but a absolutely monster season for the catcher for the Mariners. Led the AL with 44 homers, a 604 slugging percentage, 966 on-base percentage, and 165 WRC plus. So followed up the big year that he had in fictional baseball in 2025 and the, I believe, pretty strong start he's had to the real 2025 season with an MVP year in 2026. No shock in the National League, a 5th Most Valuable Player award for Mr. Ohtani, 15-5 with a 2.60 ERA and a 4 WAR on the mound. And oh yeah, he also had 34 homers, 89 ribbies, and 31 stolen bases, putting up a 4.5 WAR as a position player. So with award season done, the coaches that we need to hire hired, a couple of minor trades complete. We're going to sim quickly ahead to salary arbitration, and we don't really have anything going on there, so we'll quickly sim past that to the free agency filings and take a look at who is on the market. As I noted, we've got money to spend this year on 1-year contracts. Unfortunately, signing more than one material player to a multi-year contract is going to be a little bit trickier for us, as we still have some guys who are arbitration eligible and or getting bumps in their contract a year from now, like Mr. Tovar, who are sucking up most of the potential money that we'll have to spend this offseason if we want to put multi-year contracts out there. And we've made it to the arbitration hearings. Obviously, as I talked about, nothing going on there for us, as we're not making an offer to the last arbitration eligible player on our team. But we do have a trade that the Royals have offered us. They want Jamie Arnold, the former fourth overall pick, who's in the development lab with us. We're certainly not going to trade a top 100 prospect for the respectable left-handed pitcher Christopher Sanchez, but I do like the extreme ground ball tendencies. I do like that he's a bit above average in terms of keeping the ball in the park. I'm guessing they've signed him for 3 more years, including a team option. I'm guessing there's not going to be many options for us to bring him on board besides Mr. Arnold. You can see some of the better players or the better prospects in our organization are the only options there. But when we get into the winter meetings, maybe we revisit things on Mr. Sanchez, particularly if free agent pitcher like Luzardo doesn't end up being a realistic option for us. And we've made it to the start of free agency. Many of the names that we talked about that we expected to see there, Chris Sale, Chris Bubich, Sonny Gray. Don't know if Luzardo made it or not. We'll check on that shortly. But before we do that, maybe there will be a interesting player among the international free agents as well. Take a very high level look at their capabilities. Hung Chang Shi out of Taipei throws in the triple digits. Excellent stuff, really good movement on his pitches, control a bit below average. Don't know that we are in a $21 million reliever kind of position with this team, but El Expresso is certainly a interesting pitcher. Rest of the pitchers don't look particularly compelling. Left fielder Toshimi Masuda got the good pop in his bat. He's going to strike out an absolutely insane amount, though. Right fielder Danny Lopez looks like he's a guy. So not the most impressive crop of international free agents in my initial opinion from looking at them very quickly. Taking a look at the batters, Varsho, Arozarena, Burleson, who we could have traded for, Jazz Chisholm, Ian Happ. Actually, maybe we couldn't have traded for Burleson. I know he showed up on some of the lists, but it's possible that since he was headed to free agency that the trade button for him was actually blocked out. Looking for by far the least money of any of the allegedly most interesting free agents among the hitters. If we want to keep focusing on defense in the outfield, Dalton Varsho would certainly be a great addition, but $26 million for a guy who's going to turn 31 next year, when we've already got a 4-time defending Gold Glove winner in center field, might be a little bit of overkill. Probably need someone somewhat more accomplished offensively if we were going to make that kind of move. Taking a look at the top pitchers who are available, we talked about Shi already. Sonny Gray and Chris Sale on the market, and Luzardo is on the market, and the number is $16.4 million, so that's in the neighborhood. So I feel a little better about trading Alcantara away for Simpson with Luzardo, the lefty actually making free agency and the price seeming pretty reasonable at this point. 6 years, $16.4 million a year. I think I'm inclined to get an offer out to him. Would definitely give us a nice, solid, professional starter right at the top of the rotation, without paying an incredible price tag for him. Bubic is actually looking for a little bit more than Luzardo at this point. Another lefty. Doesn't throw quite as hard. Think I prefer Luzardo. Dylan Cease. Not looking for crazy money either. Don't know how well a fly ball pitcher who's got average home run tendencies is going to play in Colorado. But Matthew Boyd, another guy, don't love the extreme fly ball tendencies and the below average home runs allowed. But there are at least some pitchers out there, both starters and relievers, for us to consider as far as enhancing this roster. And we've got a little bit of money to play with. We're not going to be huge players in free agency, but we can pretty much bring any one guy that we want on board. And if we get creative, we can probably bring multiple players on board. Doesn't look like there's any perennial all-star type impact players available, particularly among the position players. But certainly guys who could help us. We don't have a great roster, in my opinion, and we do have a little bit of money to spend now, so it's going to be a interesting challenge for us in free agency to hopefully improve the team. And if we're able to perhaps bring on one of these more popular players who are out there who can help make us a little more popular with the fans, that would be helpful as well. Unfortunately, Luzardo, who is probably the guy I'm most interested in right now, doesn't look like he's going to have much of an impact with the fans. But there's lots of fish in the sea, and we'll start a plan on hopefully being able to bring some of them on board in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.